We're on.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our 3:30 agenda session.
Yeah.
We will call this meeting to order. Can I get a approval of the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Let's go ahead and vote on this. Actually, I'm just going to do a consensus at this point. So minutes will stand as read if there's no objection. Thank you. All right. We've got ordinances on final read. Rather than going over every one of these items, as I know our clerk would love to read them all, does anybody have any questions on any of the planning items that are on final read?
Sure.
All right. Seeing none, we do have a couple of, well, one, I guess, a three-part version planning for first read. Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and read 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone parts of two properties located at 4409 Elwood Lane and 4409 Jersey Pike from O1 office zone to M2 light industrial zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Gilbert.
Yes. Is Bridger or Brian Shokes in the audience?
Mr. Bridger's here. Do you want me to pull him in?
Yes, ma'am.
On his way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Afternoon.
How you doing, John?
Doing fine, doing fine.
I know last week we did not have the additional conditions. Can you talk about that? Can you say it now inside the minutes?
Sure. There were 5 additional conditions. You want me to read the additional ones? Or
just read the whole thing.
Okay. Sure. 58-foot buffer of existing vegetation shall be left along the R1 zone and north property line. This includes the 8-foot existing utility easement. Condition number 2 reads, a 6-foot high chain link security fence shall be constructed to the inside of the buffer for the full length of the M2 zone. 3, the height of the building, equipment, and any accessory, good Lord.
Accessory.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Tongue-tied there. Structure shall be limited to 35 feet. This height shall be measured from the finished floor elevation of slab. Condition number 4, no telecommunication tower shall be permitted. Condition number 5, no microwave tower shall be permitted. Number 6, no rug cleaning operations shall be permitted. Number 7, the retention pond, which is shown on parcel 129I-L14, shall remain in its current location. And 8, active textile dyeing on the site shall be prohibited.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you,
Councilman,
Chair.
are you good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's move on down to resolutions, please. 7B.
A resolution authorizing the interim treasurer to renew the contract with First Horizon Bank for commercial and general banking services, including lockbox services, payroll cards, safekeeping and custodial accounts, and for the collection of sewer payments, property taxes, and water quality fees locations for the third and final one-year renewal period ending November 7th, 2021 for an estimated amount of $47,000.
All right. Seeing no hands, C, please.
A resolution authorizing the payment of the Tennessee Municipal League membership dues for 2020 to 2021 based upon the city's population as reported with the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development, Local Planning Assistance Office, certified by the 2020 census and updated by the DECD annually in the amount of $40,800.
All right. Very good. Seeing no questions there. Those are all the items that are on our regular agenda before going into committee. We do not have a departmental report. That takes us down to purchasing. Does anybody on the council have any questions on any of the purchasing items that we have on our agenda this evening? I believe there are 3 of them, a couple from police department and 1 from ECD. Councilman Ledford.
Mr. Chairman, I did check on this earlier just because it had 0 bids, 0 received. Those are single quotes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? All right.
Wait a minute.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you. With the traffic enforcement, do we have a list of where those units will be placed?
That is a great question, ma'am. I am not sure about that. Is anybody from the administration or CPD on that might be able to answer that question? Chief Tucker's on. Maura, one of... Hey, Lydia, would you just go ahead and bring in Deputy Chief Tucker, please? Let's see if he might know the answer to that question.
Absolutely.
We'll just get him on the spot.
On his way.
Hey, Chief, hey, sir, sorry to drag you in on short notice. Chief, did you hear Councilwoman Coonrod's question?
There was a question about the stalker radar units. Is that the question?
Yes, the speeding.
Yeah, they will be used at various places around the city.
Okay, so can we get one on Missionary Ridge? Because they've been complaining about speeding for a year now and nothing has been done. Just want to drop that in your wheelhouse if that's something we can look at.
Certainly, yeah, we can, you know, when we get complaints from speeding from time to time, our traffic division will take a strategic look at it and make attempts to slow traffic down.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Chief. All right, I see no further questions on the purchase items. The next item we do have on our agenda to discuss is the September 22nd agenda. I do know that we had a few questions that we were going to deal with in other business at this meeting, but since we go into committees, let's go ahead and deal with those now. Councilman Gilbert, let me turn it over to you and let's see what we can work out with Phil on the best way to approach those two items that I know you had questions about for next week.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Phil?
Yes, sir.
Since this is on next week, do we still need to make a move to amend today at 6? Or could we do anything right now?
Well, you need to make your discussion during your public meeting about what you wish to amend on these provisions. And if you wish to separate the items on the list, we can do that at such time as y'all vote in a public meeting to do it. Make that request now, and I will accomplish that for you here, so you'll have it available for this evening if that's the way you want it.
Well, I'd like to make that request of separating A and B. It's two separate subs in A and two separate subs in B.
Yes, sir.
To make them separate.
Okay, sir. And at least on our end of it, we can deal with the issues as to the provisions for the pay plan issue and the issue for EPB and the operations budget as separate ordinances. And we will do the same thing for the capital budget on those two items on the capital budget at your request, if that's what the council wishes.
Can we go ahead and vote on that right now, Phil?
Yes, and I will have it available here this evening. I'd request that you do that again, at least reassert that. It doesn't come up until next week, actually.
Right, it doesn't come up till next week, but it is in the public hearing this evening, and that was part of the question. Do we go ahead and address separating those two items right now so that they are separate during the public hearing, or do we need to wait until next week and make it part of the motion once we put the item on the floor?
The notification had both of those items for both items here that are coming up for discussion tonight. You can at least approach that in the 6 o'clock meeting right before the public hearing that there has been a request to do that, and you anticipate that that might be an item that the council will take up. I think it'd probably be good to at least state that before the discussion occurs in the public hearing tonight.
So we probably should not take any action on separating them at this point, since the public hearing is to address the two items as they stand currently.
They are currently. I would recommend that you do that in your discussion right before the public hearing.
Okay, should we vote on those items too right before the public hearing then to separate?
I don't think that's a problem if that's how you want to do it. Yes.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure we're doing it at the right time and that we're not changing anything prior to what has been previously advertised.
Right. Everybody's been advertised to know that those items were together, and if you separate them out, that can all be done right before they give their presentations.
Okay.
Okay,
Councilwoman Coonrod. Oh, excuse me a minute. I'm sorry. Councilman Gilbert, were you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I thought he was going to answer my question, but just want to know, Russell, if there's any other additional concerns that you have about it, other than just having it separating to be two different entities. Are there any other concerns that we can go ahead and get addressed with administration so we can, you know, make decisions or correct it on the front end?
No, I just want to be able to separate it because I want to vote on them differently.
Okay.
I don't agree with the total language in both. So by separating, I can actually vote one way or the other.
Okay, and then my question is Mara on, because I have a question about it.
Will you find Ms. Sullivan, please?
Absolutely. She's on her way.
Hi, Mara, again.
Hello. Thank you, Council.
Just got a couple of questions about, you know, what we'll be voting on and discussing. And I know, you know, it's been made urgent that we need to try to correct it, you know, however, you know, each council person choose to vote. But I just have a few questions. Is the draft, because early on you said it was just a draft copy that you all were kind of working on. Now, is that draft, is that something that council, if we approved it, is that something that could go into effect right now because it is a draft?
Oh, of the pay plan?
Uh-huh.
Well, the attachment, page 69 of the ordinance right now does have a draft pay plan. It is not a pay plan that I would recommend to move forward. It is a pay plan that is partial in nature, and that it has increases at the top of at the beginning of the ranges. And it doesn't even have consistent amounts of increases throughout those beginning of the ranges. It has some larger increases for the bottom of the pay scale, meaning folks who make more money than are at the top of the pay scale, meaning people who make less money. It was a draft. It was the beginning of a working document, and it's not really a pay plan that we recommend moving forward. So if we had the funding, in order to fund the amount that you would have, in order to implement this pay plan, the City Council would have to amend this year's budget to have an increased amount for this year's budget. Otherwise, it doesn't balance. Mm-hmm. So there would have to be an additional amount of money for this year's budget, which is either revenue or reserves, but there would have to be something added to the revenue side for this expenditure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I most definitely want people at the lower end of the ranges to get more than a 2% raise. Most definitely, and I'm not, I think the people at the top making a significant amount right now. So giving them an additional 15% right now, it just doesn't make sense. But are you all working on any kind of document that's going to be more detailed about pay raises, how we can implement them over a course of time? Or is that I know we said right now it didn't look too good, but in this following budget, is there anything that we could apply or put in the budget that could increase pay?
Yes, that compensation plan that we have will give us does give us some really great information, and that was part of the information that this draft was taken from. People in HR were working through the compensation plan and looking at different ideas for pay. Again, just this was a draft looking at different ways that we could balance pay in the future. And our compensation plan will give us a lot of good ideas and a lot of good paths forward to make our pay more equitable in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question. I appreciate it. I know it's a complex issue, and we've made it more complex with this incorrect page 69, but we appreciate your working through it with us all.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Yeah, I want to get back to Russell's question and Phil, your comments. I believe that we're not changing the substance of anything. We're just putting a space in between the topics. And this is a public meeting, and it's open to whoever wants to hear and make comments later. I think it might be cleaner for purposes of tonight. I see no legal reason, I'm not the expert, you are, why Russell can't go ahead and ask now that we separate them for next week into A, B, C, and D, because we're not changing the substance at all. It's for clarity purposes, so that tonight, when we speak to people, they'll be clear about what they're talking about.
I have prepared during the few minutes of break we had here at least 4 different ordinances that would all be the same language as you've requested, but just separating them out. I have that available. If you want me to provide that, it's just not a whole lot of notice for this evening for people to have that. That's why I thought
there's just, my point is there's no change. There's absolutely no change in substance. We're literally putting a space between the paragraphs for clarity.
Yes.
And to satisfy the interests of whoever needs them satisfied. My sense is it's just cleaner, since there's no change of substance whatsoever, to go ahead and allow Mr. Gilbert in a public meeting for next week to suggest, so that at the very beginning, I'm clear to say, you know what, for clarity reasons, we're separating these out for next week. And let me remind you what they are. And I think it doesn't muddy the waters quite as much. You know what, I believe that meets legal requisite, but I could be dead wrong. So just tossing that out there.
Yes, we will add them to the agenda here this evening, just so you've got them as an item to discuss. And I sort of need some action during that public hearing, substituting which one you want to have coming up. I think that would probably be the cleanest method.
All right. If I may, Mr. Chair, what I'm saying is right now in our agenda session, which is a public meeting,
yes,
for Mr. Gilbert to make the motion that we separate them out, okay, which is more of a typographical thing than it is a substantial thing, so that tonight we can say to the people who are speaking, for clarity's sake, we're doing this, so you'll see it on next week's agenda. I believe that's proper.
Yes, ma'am. I don't have a problem with doing that here. I think you need to tell them this evening as well.
That's what I just said. So I believe it's okay for Mr. Gilbert to make that motion now and for us to go through with it. So everything is clear a week ahead of time what's happening.
Bill, if we're good with that, let's go ahead and do it. I'm more than happy to take the motion, let the council vote separately, so A to separate into A and B, and then B to separate into C and D.
Correct.
2 different motions, if that is what the council prefers, and let's just go ahead and do that now. That's
up to this body, yeah.
Councilman Gilbert, then I would expect you have a comment.
Yes, sir. I'd like to move to excuse me, to amend 6A and also to amend 6B.
But let's do one at a time, Councilman. So let's start with 6A and move to amend to separate the 2 items out.
And,
Yes,
and for
sir.
clarity, can you say for 6A on the 622 agenda?
6A on the September the 22nd, 22?
It'd be 922 agenda, sorry.
Nine,
Or
nine,
922 agenda to separate that language.
Okay.
So that's a motion. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call on this, please. Oh, wait, excuse me, just one moment. Councilwoman Burrs, is that an old hand?
Oh, sorry, sir. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just didn't want to not get you. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Burrs,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Can we state what we're separating? He's just saying amend to have it separated, but what are we separating?
Russell, do you have the language, or Phil, do you have it in front of you, sir?
I will. Yes, hold on just a second. The provisions, the request that has been made, at least on the operation budget, would be to separate the provisions which talk about the appropriation of $1,500,000 from the general fund reserves to the Electric Power Board of Chattanooga for the Hamilton County Education Connect initiative, which has been covered by favorable operations during 2020, from the second portion of that ordinance, which talks about replacing page 69 of the general pay plan to be consistent with operations funding and only provide for increases to employees who are not paid in the amount of federal poverty guidelines. We would have an A and a B for those two different categories.
Yeah, thank you. I just needed it read into the records for the constituents.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Agree.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
You're muted, sir.
Yes.
Chairman Smith,
Yes.
all yeses.
Thank you, ma'am. And Councilman Gilbert, I believe you have another.
Yes, sir. I'd like to amend B. And can I ask Mr. Field to read out the separation?
For
Yes,
next
sir.
week's agenda, sir.
Yes, sir. For the 922 agenda, it would read an ordinance to amend capital improvements budget number 13559, known as the fiscal year 2021 capital budget ordinance, so as to appropriate $150,000 from the Department of Economic and Community Development capital project public art in the new capital construction to the Southeast Tennessee Development District for the Artist Work Program, from the second portion, which would be item D, to accept and appropriate $531,036 additional transportation improvement program funds to Transportation Capital Project Pavement Management number 2, Chat 1, for the Bailey Avenue and Chestnut Street tip paving project. So that would be your items numbers C and D for 922.
All right, so that's a motion.
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
I got a question.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Okay, so in this, because I want to make sure, just for clarity on my part, before we amend anything, it's really saying that we're moving money from this particular part of the capital budget, and we're putting the money into the artist program. So if we're amending it, I don't understand the purpose of the amendment.
Hold, Councilwoman, just a
I mean,
moment.
why
I'll
is
get an answer
it
for you.
Okay.
Ms. Sullivan, can you explain that? What is actually taking place on that item, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We already had in the capital budget the amount for this expenditure for the artist program, but we didn't have who would be administering, what agency would be administering the program. So we, after y'all approved the budget and approved this expenditure, then we started working with an agency who would do the work and administer the program for us. Southeast Tennessee Development District agreed to do that. We entered into some preliminary discussions with them and worked out what the contract would look like. And then for us to be able to give them the money to do it, we have to come to you to do a contract, to approve the contract, but also before that to amend the budget to have this go to the agency. So it becomes an agency appropriation to Southeast Tennessee Development District. So that's the amendment. It's not moving money from one place to another other than from the city administering to Southeast Tennessee Development administering.
Okay. Thanks for the clarity.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Burrs,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Vice Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All yeses.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, everybody. So Phil, you've got what you need to take care of there.
Yes, sir. We'll prepare a revised version for next week when that item will come up on first reading. And that needs to be announced tonight whenever you have the public hearing as well.
I'll do that. Thank you.
All right,
All right.
Thank you, Councilwoman Burrs. That clears that up. All right, that was at the point for our 3:30 where we're discussing next week's agenda. Oh, Councilwoman Coonrod, is that an old hand, ma'am?
No, that's a new hand.
Okay.
Just wanted
Please
to
go
have a
ahead.
question because I don't think that we separated, but I still don't think that it addresses what Councilman Gilbert's concerns are. He stated that it's the language that he have an issue with. So Russell, what portion of the language that you have an issue with, so we can, Mara's on the line, we can see how we can get it corrected, or what we can put in different language.
Like I said earlier, I just wanted to separate them to vote on them differently.
Okay. Just making sure. I'm just trying to have your back because your word choice earlier said something different. But thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Gilbert, is that okay, old hand. All right, if there is no further questions for September 22nd agenda, next item is future considerations. Anybody have any questions at this time for any future considerations?
Mr. Chair, we're going to put CDOT and Public Works future considerations in the meeting.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
That covers that.
I see no further hands. Miss Lydia, would you excuse Miss Sullivan, please?
Yes, sir.
And then, seeing no further hands, at this time, I am happily turning over the chair to Chairman Mitchell over Public Works and Transportation Committee. It's all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just hope I can do nearly as well as you have done so far today. Welcome to the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting today. Can I get approval of minutes? Is anyone against that approval? Then we'll adopt them as written. We're going to start with Public Works today. Who's out there that wants to volunteer to jump up here and take us on?
We have Justin Holland coming.
Oh, great. Hello, Mr.
Good afternoon, Council. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Justin, we're going to start. I know there's a couple of other things that you want to talk about today, but I want to start with the agenda, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
We're going to start with Tuesday, September 15th, ordinances on first reading. Please read 6B.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sewer easement located at 2700 to 2800 North Point Boulevard, tax map numbers 110JA007, 110JA007.03, and 110JA007.04 is detailed in the attached map.
I see no hands.
Good.
So we're good. Yes, we're good. All right, let's go to C.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sewer easement located at the 8000 block of Volkswagen Drive, tax map number 130001.18 is detailed in the attached map.
No hands. All right, let's go to D.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sewer easement located at the 1000 block of Main Street and Fillmore Street, tax map number 148PK002 is detailed on the attached map.
Doing really well. Doing really well. All right, we're going to move to resolutions today. 7D, please.
A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 2 for Hazen and Sawyer relative to contract number W17004-101, wet weather combined sewer storage phase 1, a consent decree project for an increased amount of $310,577.89 for a revised contract amount of $2,362,974.14.
I see Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, sir. Justin, I figured you would be ready to answer this one.
Yes, sir, I am. And in fact, if I can share my screen, I have a brief presentation. It will just take a few moments to explain 2 projects. I'm actually going to explain this project and the final change order relative to the wastewater treatment plant control rooms. And I'm looking for the place to share my screen. I don't think I have that ability yet.
While you're figuring that out, let's go ahead and read E. That's the other one you're going to speak about, right?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read E, please.
Sure. Mr. Holland, it should be at the very bottom of your screen. If you move the mouse to the bottom of the screen, it should appear in the middle.
Thank you.
Sure. A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 2 for Heron Construction Company of Etowah, Tennessee, relative to contract number W15009-201, MBWWTP control room upgrades for an increased amount of $97,437.31 to release the remaining contingency amount of $2,562.69 for a revised contract amount of $1,877,683.06.
All right, Mr. Holland.
And Mr. Chairman, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So today there's these two agenda items that I want to review for the council. The first project is the wet weather equalization station at Ham Road. This is the city's single largest capital project in the city's history, nearing $50 million. The project consists of constructing 30 million gallons of wet weather storage, equalization, and 10 million gallon above ground storage basins. Those are 3 10 million gallon storage basins. It also includes a 30 million gallon a day pump station and a diversion structure on the site. These all support inflow to the wastewater treatment plant at Moxon Bend. They're enormous storage basins. It actually is to eliminate and reduce the West Bank overflow, part of the consent decree. It's to restore our system capacities at critical points to reduce peak flows at the wastewater treatment plant during wet weather. The project started in March of 2019. It's currently at 65% completion. We've spent about 67% of the budget as of today. Project completion is estimated in April of 2021. The change order is for consideration today is for Hazen and Sawyer, an amount not to exceed $310,577. It includes additional efforts to manage the contractor for 94 additional days, a redesign to accommodate some additional fill, design around some unforeseen storm pipe design, and to manage some additional contaminated soils. In addition to this change order, and one of the reasons I wanted to detail this a bit for you today and explain the enormity of this project is that there is a potential for a future change order from the construction contractor Reeves Young that we've been working with. It would be to address additional micro piles that were required up to 80-foot depths, and also to remove a large amount of concrete debris, manage some contaminated soils, and then some unforeseen project delays during the construction of this project. So the reason, again, that I wanted to mention this and the enormity of this project is just to kind of preface the next conversation, so you'll have some context of what we had to do in order to continue construction of these facilities. The piles that we're talking about are actually what the facility sits on to get to bedrock. So we estimated those piles to be much shallower, and they were in excess of 80 foot in some places. So I don't know if you have any additional questions. There's actually a photo here of the piles being driven in. You can see each, I don't know, it's a little bit difficult, but you can see each one of those piles is indicated there. They're approximately 10 foot apart, maybe in the photo, 15 foot apart. But you can see how many of those piles there are. Part of this change order was to redesign, and then a latter construction contract change order to actually install those. So thank you, Councilman Ledford and Chairman Mitchell, for the questions. I don't know if there's any additional questions to this. Also thankful to several council members, Councilman Ledford, Councilman Oglesby, others, who were able to come out to a preview of this project and actually go through some of this more recently. I'll pause for questions and then move into the overview of the control room final change order.
All right, I don't see any hands.
Thank you. Well, the next item is just a final change order. It's really just to highlight the work that we did at the wastewater treatment plant control room. So we are closing this project out. It included a host of improvements, including a new office space, lighting, consoles, furniture, workstations, a multi-monitor wall, servers, our SCADA system improvements where we can actually operate most of the treatment plant, and our collection systems from outside, from right in this room. About approximately 84 pump stations can be controlled from this control room, with several additional redundancies and network securities that were also included in the project. Obviously, the intention really was just to create efficiencies and reliability through SCADA systems. But you can see, if you can imagine this, looked previously, just up until last year, looked like something that Homer Simpson might work in from the original construction of the wastewater plant. But today, obviously, huge improvements. We can turn valves from this room and monitor all of our flows from this space. There's alarms, and then all of the technology is moved out into the field through the cloud, where operators can monitor what happens in this control room from their cell phones, and be able to respond much faster. So I just wanted to mention that, and I will take down this shared screen now.
Very good.
All
Any
right.
questions?
Questions?
Sir?
Councilperson Goodrod, you're muted.
I don't have questions about this particular presentation, but I have a question about the sewer increase by 12%.
Oh, thank you, Councilwoman Coonrod. I have actually a pretty good response for you there. We are not actually increasing the sewer rates. That is actually something that is being done by the WWTA. That will affect county residents, not city residents.
Okay.
So the 12% increase will not be seen by our city, really by our city customers. There are we've counted approximately 300, just under 300 city residents who are affected. They live in service areas that are serviced by the WWTA. Those service locations were not ceded to the city after the annexations in the late 2000s. And what has occurred is, or what is occurring is that the WWTA is just at the doorstep here of a consent decree, which the city has been under for several years. We actually had a 0% increase just in sensitivity to COVID. We were financially in a position where we were able to do that. We do anticipate future increases to support the sewer system and the consent decree that the city's under, but we were able to forego an increase this year. And I wanted to make sure that we did clarify that is not a sewer, that is not a city increase. Thank
you for that, explaining that, Justin, because I've had, it seemed like over a lot of calls over the weekend about the increase in every outlet that I could be contacted on. So just wanted to get some clarity about it so I can know, how to communicate the right information to the citizens that I serve. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We're happy to help you do that as well at any point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to F for this week.
A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 1 final for Clean Co Construction of Tennessee Incorporated relative to contract number S1801221 Appling Street drainage improvements for a decreased amount of $195,034.99 to release the contingency amount of $100,000 for a revised contract amount of $873,049.01.
Is it important to the council person that this is in their district, to have the district put on this?
Who district is it?
Mr. Chairman, my version says it's in District 8.
Okay. Phil, could you add that?
It's on my version I was looking at here.
Okay, I printed out a version at about noon today, or a little bit after that, so maybe there was another version, I don't know.
Sorry.
That's all right, no problem. Okay, we'll move next week. It looks like we have 3 resolutions from Public Works. Please read 7H.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to award contract number W19004-201 to Site Formations LLC of Decatur, Tennessee storage facility at MBWWTP materials and laydown area in the amount of $175,000 plus a contingency amount of $17,500 for an amount not to exceed $192,500.
I don't see any questions. We'll move to I.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to award contract number Y19021-201 to Dusty Greer Roofing Incorporated of Monroe, Georgia, replacement roofing system for Tyner YFD Center in the amount of $166,250 plus a contingency amount of $16,500 for an amount not to exceed $182,750.
Okay, Jay, please.
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of a conservation easement on tax parcel number 117CA01403 located at 712 Valley Bridge Road relative to the Spring Valley Bank stabilization and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents pertaining thereto.
All right, there no questions for that. Okay, well, let's real quickly move on to future considerations. There's 3 items on Public Works. You have any questions? Again, don't expect an answer today, but if you want to ask the question now, or just get in touch with Public Works and see if you can get answers from them before it appears on the 2-week agenda. Okay, I see none. Justin, what are, I believe you've been working on a study for quite a while. You want to say a couple of words about that?
Yes, sir. So just wanted to introduce that we will be discussing a feasibility study of related to consolidation of services with WWTA and the city of Chattanooga's sewer system, treatment and collection systems on September 29th during Public Works Committee meeting.
All right, and I believe you're going to do 3 different presentations with the same information on each?
Yes, sir. We will be doing 3 presentations. We will have a presentation on the 28th, which will be actually the consultant that the WWTA and the city hired will be presenting the information to the WWTA during a special work session on the 28th first, and then the 29th, you will hear it during your Public Works Committee meeting. And then on the 30th, the consultant will present that same information again to the county commission is our plan. I've been working with Mike Patrick to schedule those presentations with all three entities. And thank you for taking my call earlier and discussing that.
Okay, I see a question from Councilman Gilbert.
Yeah, just when Justin the opportunity on this loan agreement, I'd like to learn more about the loan agreement on future consideration.
Yeah, you're speaking of item number 3 on future considerations.
Yeah, yes, this is number 9. And it's TDEC loan agreement. You see it? 1, 2, and 3, and 8 districts. Consent decree.
Yes, sir. I just closed that out, but let me.
You don't have to get it. I mean, this is 3 weeks out, so just whenever you get a chance, I'd like to know more about it.
Certainly.
Okay. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In reference to the study of the possible combining of the sewer systems together, is there a next step, Justin, after the presentation, or is that purely informative information that you're sending to us, or is there a projection for what the next steps might be, if there are any next steps to be considered?
So after our presentation, this presentation will be just the feasibility, whether or not it is feasible, and some considerations of what the city or the WWTA needs to consider before moving forward. We will we'll begin to explore, following that feasibility study, if there's a desire, additional steps in what those particular financial situations are, what the particular personnel, joint funding, all of those, the flow modeling, so we can dive into next steps once we present the feasibility of whether or not it actually worked, which was step 1. The next steps are execution, implementation steps that we would pursue. We don't anticipate addressing specifics during the feasibility study, other than to say whether or not various parts of consolidation are feasible and what the pros and cons look like. But there are future steps that would take into consideration all of the details related to consolidating those two entities.
Now, I may be ahead of myself in your presentation, and if I am with this next question, please tell me and I will withdraw it and you can cover it in your presentation. But if consolidation were to happen, would that require the consent of both the county commission and the city council, or strictly on the executive levels with the mayors? And can you speak at all about the role of the EPA in that decision?
So all of that is part of the feasibility study, and it would actually, those are all complexities. So the governance of what happens to implement the consolidation, and latter governance of what that organization might look like, are all parts of considering the feasibility. So that would, you're exactly right. That will be presented during that time. And then following that period, we have a series of phases that would occur if there's a desire between the city and the WWTA to pursue that.
Okay, my last question, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you indulging me. If a consolidation of any sort were to happen, would we create a board or an oversight committee for that consolidation?
Well, I think from the administration's perspective, the experts in the field would
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you going into depths. That I apologize for diving into your presentation next week. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Councilperson Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a question for the 3-week outlook. Justin, the Chattanooga Police Crime Scene Facilities Improvement, now, is that a part of in the budget what we approved to get like a new location for the police service center, or is the crime scene in a whole different location?
I believe these are renovations to their existing facility to accommodate new technologies. From about related to what it does, I would need to yield to the police department's project manager. They may not be prepared to discuss that. I'm not sure who's on the call today. From construction, we would be able to respond to any questions related to the construction. But this is a project by the police department that we're helping execute for them.
Yeah, because I mean, I just want to know why are we improving it, that facility there, if they're gonna be relocating to a whole different building. But okay, thank you, Justin.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Councilwoman, I don't know about that.
That question is noted, and we'd like to get a response, or I'd like you to get Councilperson Coonrod's response, and I'm speaking to the police department right now. Thank you, Councilperson.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands. Anybody have any other questions for Justin? If not, thank you, Mr. Holland.
Thank you.
Yes.
Where'd he go?
Who are we missing?
Jerry.
We lost our chairman.
I'm so sorry. That's my.
Did you bump Jerry?
Power.
We're going to call that an abuse of power, Councilman Mitchell. Be careful.
I'm so sorry, Councilman Mitchell. I apologize.
You're muted, sir. You might be muted on purpose.
You're still muted, Jerry.
You might be.
Choice words.
Is he?
Might be frozen.
Right.
There he goes.
I just got an unmute that I clicked on, but I'm still not able to join the meeting.
We can see you.
We can see you.
Oh, great. Okay, good. I can't make faces then. Okay, well, let's start with the resolution of September 22nd. Did we ever figure out, before I was ejected from the meeting, did we ever figure out who's going to speak for transportation today?
Mr. Bailey has his hand raised.
Oh, that's good of him.
And he's on his way.
Hello, Mr. Chairman.
How you doing, Blake? We're going to start with resolutions on the 22nd. Please read 7K.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Transportation to enter into a private-public partnership agreement with Down South Homes, LLC for fee in lieu of sidewalk toward the cost of sidewalk implementation in the amount of $40,266.
Anybody got a hand up? I can't see.
No,
just speak right up. Okay, then we'll move on to L.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Transportation to enter into an independent contractor services agreement with the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga for project number T21008 ICA UTC PED analysis along the East Martin Luther King Boulevard Smart Corridor in the amount of $55,083.
Anyone have a question? Speak up.
Can Blythe give us a quick overview of that, please?
Yes.
Blythe?
Yes, sir. Mr. Councilman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was checking. There's two of these that look very much alike, and I wanted to make sure I knew which one was which. The one that was just read,
both of them,
Councilman, is both of these are agreements with UTC for data and analysis for safety projects. The first one that's listed in your district, District 8, is specifically on the MLK corridor. That's our smart city test bed, as I think you all know. That project specifically looking at how we can use our existing technology to do a better job of counting and knowing where pedestrians are so that we can accommodate better safety for them and also better usability of the corridor. And then we potentially could translate some of that, some of what we learned to elsewhere in the city. It's another way to use our smart city test bed in a way that makes our streets safer. And we're utilizing it with UTC.
Cool.
Did I cover it?
We're good.
Okay. We didn't read it yet, but let's go ahead and read him.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Transportation to enter into an independent contractor services agreement with the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga for project number T21009 ICA UTC 2021 Chat Reg Crash Prediction Analysis citywide in the amount of $55,000 and $55,083.
Mr. Bailey, you want to just quickly go over that also?
Yes, sir. I hope you all can still hear me. I switched to headphones. This one is also an agreement with UTC, and I didn't mention the great work of Mina Sartipi, who has done a fair amount of work with us in the past. This is another project to increase safety, and this one specifically helps to develop a mechanism where we can predict where crashes occur throughout the city. It's citywide, not just in the test bed.
Okay. Any questions for that?
I have a question, Chairman, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Hey, Blythe, I
Yes,
just
sir.
noticed the dollar amounts are exactly the same. Is that just kind of a set fee or a set standard, or are there variables all the same?
I asked the same question of our Smart City Director, Mr. Comstock, who will be overseeing these projects. And these are both very similarly run with graduate students who work under Professor Sartipi. So for that reason, the formulas are the same. The estimate of hours is the same. So they're relatively equal projects, and that's why the dollar amounts are the same.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move to future consideration. There's 3 bullet points on CDOTs. Construction contract for St. Elmo Riverwalk extension. Construction contract for sidewalk install repair at various locations. And a TAP grant. Anyone have any questions about that? Not that he necessarily has to answer today, but he can get you the information.
I'd love to know more about the Riverwalk extension. Your Councilman Oglesby was going to ask that in advance.
I think they're tearing your building down and coming right through there.
But that tells me
You're
what
exactly right, Councilman Lepper. That was my question. So if you could just give us a snippet, Blake, because I know we'll go more into detail in a week or so. So just give me a little snippet of where we are with that, please.
Gladly. I'm so excited about that project. This continues the Riverwalk from where it currently ends on Middle Street behind just a little bit north of 33rd Street, all the way down St. Elmo Avenue. It crosses St. Elmo Avenue. It crosses Broad Street at St. Elmo Avenue, and then goes down the other side of St. Elmo Avenue all the way down to the incline. I think it's 1.5 miles length. It's federally funded. It's been in our queue for quite some time. It's a high priority for a number of individuals, and it's just extremely exciting to get it to this point. I will say that is on our 3-week outlook, Councilman, specifically so that we can move forward expediently when we get concurrence from TDOT. We may not, that one may float, so to speak, on the 3-week agenda until we get the concurrence. I did request or clarify that with Vice Chairman Smith this morning, that if we are unable to get concurrent, we're submitting for concurrence today. And if we're unable to get, when I say concurrence, since this is federally funded, we have to be given notice to proceed by TDOT. We've requested that as of today, and we'll be checking in with them frequently because we're anxious to get started. It could happen soon, or it could happen in several weeks. So if it doesn't happen for several weeks, we'll continue to keep this item on the 3-week agenda and just continue to adjust the dates. So next week, it may show up in the same place and have a date of October 6th. And we wanted to do that so that we could move quickly when we do get concurrence from TDOT. But that's our project, and we're anxious to get the go-ahead from TDOT so we can go ahead and build it.
Hey, Blythe, can you tell me who you're running that through at TDOT?
It's the local programs office, which is run out of headquarters. The local programs office includes what are called program monitors that are all assigned to projects. So we have a program monitor assigned to this one, and we've sent the results of the bid, which was last week, to that individual, actually only just today. And I plan to follow up with that individual and ask them for sooner concurrence than normal, if that's possible.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any more questions, Mr. Bailey? If not, I believe this is the end of the Public Works and Transportation meeting, and I will turn it over to Councilman Oglesby for Economic and Community Development Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mitchell. Yeah. Now I open up Economic and Community Development Committee meeting for September 14th. Can I get a motion on the approval of the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Okay, if there is no objection, we will let it stand as presented. Madam Clerk, let's now move on to Resolution 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development, in conjunction with the City Treasury Department, to renew an agreement in substantially the form attached with OpenGov, Inc., formerly Viewpoint Government Solutions, for operating software for the Land Development Office for the second year of a 3-year term, with an option to renew for an additional 1-year term for a total of 3 years, in the amount of $152,320.80.
Okay, I'm seeing no hands. Madam Clerk, let's now move on to Tuesday, September the 22nd. Resolution 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a real estate purchase and option agreement relative to the purchase of lots 1, 2B, and option to purchase lot 2A located at the Enterprise South Industrial Park, and authorizing the mayor to execute a deed and other necessary closing documents conveying said property to the purchaser listed here and below upon payment of the sale price by the purchaser.
Okay, it will be part of our Chamber of Commerce presentation that'll be coming up shortly for anybody that has questions. Madam Clerk, let's now move on to 7B, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to award home program funds to Habitat for Humanity of Greater Chattanooga for the purpose of creating 2 affordable housing units located at 313 West 37th Street and 3329 Hughes Avenue for a total amount not to exceed $80,000.
Okay, I certainly don't have any questions. So now we will move on to Resolution 7C, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into Amendment Number 1 to lease in substantially the form attached with Chattanooga Goodwill Industries Incorporated to amend the renewal options to 1 additional term beginning October 10th, 2020 and ending April 30th, 2021.
Councilman Byrd, this is in 8. Have any questions? Look like he has blacked out there. So we will now move on to resolutions 7D, short-term vacation rentals.
A resolution approving short-term vacation rental application number 20 STVR 00094 for property located at 62 East 17th Street.
Okay. Now let's finish these resolutions. 7E, please.
A resolution approving short-term vacation rental application number 20 STVR 00103 for property located at 74 East 17th Street.
Great. Thank you, Madam Clerk. That concludes this part of Economic and Community Development Committee meeting. We will now move on to a presentation from the Chamber of Commerce. Don't want to steal their thunder, so I believe we should have Mr. Charles with us today, Charles Woods. Do you see him, Madam Clerk?
Who I can look for him in just a minute if you don't mind, but Sharita Allen has her hand raised. Should I bring her in first?
That was my best guess there. So let's bring up Sharita Allen, please.
She's on her way.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. I will be sharing my screen for the presentation, and I do see Charles. He will be providing the audio for us today.
Great. Thank you, Sharita.
Okay, are you able to see screen?
Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
And I believe Charles will need to unmute himself to start the presentation.
There we go. Great. Good afternoon, everybody. Just want to make sure you can hear me?
We can hear you fine, Charles.
Perfect. And thanks, Sharita. So I've been having some technical difficulties, so I'm working off my iPhone, so I apologize for that. So we're really excited about this project. Sharita and I have been working with a number of folks on the county's team as well in their real estate department to bring this project forward. And so this is an acquisition of roughly about 43 acres in Enterprise South Industrial Park. If you go to thank you, Sharita. So the first lot, lot 1 is 27 acres. The acquisition price for that is a little over $700,000. And then lot 2B is 1.8 acres. And that acquisition price is $144,000. There's an option with lot 2A, which is the back portion or the front portion of lot 2. And I'll show a screen slide here with the location map on it on the next slide. And so the total price is a little over 1.4 million, or about $58,800 an acre. And you can see on the map, the two tan areas there kind of towards the top. One is lot 1 and the second is lot 2. Lot 2B will divide, it'll be kind of the southern portion of lot 2. Again, that's just 1.8 acres. And this is basically sitting, lot 2 is directly adjacent to Plastic Omnium, if you'll remember that location out in Enterprise South. And then just a little kind of overview of the project behind this. So if you go to the next slide. So while the property will be acquired by Chattanooga Industrial LLC, there will be an end user that's an automotive supplier that we've been working with to locate on this site. And that's actually not dissimilar from the Amazon project that's out in Enterprise South as well. So that site was actually purchased and acquired and developed by a private developer and then leased back to Amazon. And that's the structure for this as well. And so unfortunately, while we're not able to communicate yet the name of the automotive supplier, they basically will serve as a tier 1 supplier. So they'll directly serve Volkswagen as part of this project. They'll hire 250 employees with average wages, and that should be a greater than $40,000 a year number, not a less than. So I apologize for that. There's not a pilot as part of this project. So really the economic development role for the city and the county is really the land transaction to make that property available for this project. And so the facility that will go on lot 1 is approximately 240,000 square feet. And then the back portion of lot 2B will support some of the logistics requirements as well for the project. And then the development company will basically have an option on lot 2A with plans for a little over 160,000 square feet facility to go on that. That would be speculative industrial space. And basically what that means in terms of economic development for the chamber and for the city's economic development staff is that's product that we're able to market. So that'll be space we'll be able to market to other users to locate in the park and obviously create jobs as part of that. So that's just a really quick overview of the project, but happy to take any questions.
Yes, thank you, Charles. Let's start off. I just start at the top, and Councilwoman Coonrod, you have your hands.
Thank you, Chair. My question wasn't pertaining to his presentation, but I have an economic development question when he's done.
Okay, we'll circle back. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. Hey, Charles, can you tell me or break down for us the difference in the price per acreage, why lot 1 and 2B obviously are different prices? I know there's probably factors that involve economic development that you could touch on.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do that. And so basically the way the negotiation is kind of worked on this project is a look at what's actually developable acreage and kind of determining that to a per acre cost. And so both of these lots have some challenges on them, would be a nice way to put it. So as an example, lot 2 has a cemetery that kind of sits in the middle of it that effectively they will own, the developer will own, but obviously cannot develop that as part of that. And so that's kind of, so there's some topographic issues. There's a little bit, I think, of kind of drop off on the back of lot 2. So it's about a 30-foot drop off. So obviously that portion of the property is unusable as well. And so that's why there's some differences in the per acre cost.
That makes a lot of sense. My second part of that is, if this sale goes through and council approves this and this new supplier is installed, how much land do we have left at Enterprise South do you think that is viable for development, industrial purposes?
So we have one small lot remaining on the kind of what's referred to, I think, as the east part of the campus, which is 10 acres. And then we have release area that Volkswagen will release as part of a previous economic development agreement with the company. And that's approximately 300 acres. But it's a little tricky in how it will be used. And there's some specifications that it can only be used for automotive suppliers. So if we had someone that came in and wanted to do a data center or something like that, as an example, they would not qualify for utilizing that site.
Gotcha. So automotive related only.
Correct.
Very good. All right. That's all I have for right now. Thanks, Charles. And it sounds like a good project. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Ledford. Councilperson Burrs, you have the floor.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I don't have a question, but I want to congratulate Sharita and Charles. This is in my district, and they've worked long and hard on this. I also am aware of the purchaser, all very solid people. And Charles and Sharita, thank you very, very much for all the hard work you've done.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Burrs. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you,
I saw
Chair.
your hand go. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. And also thank you, Councilwoman Burrs, for recognizing the hard work that Miss Sharita does. I think a lot of times she get lost in a shuffle of things and she's not recognized for her hard work. She does a lot, in my personal opinion. She goes above and beyond. You know, I really hope that with the new transition that she will be one that will be considered to stay, you know, and she's really an asset to the city. So thank you so much, Sharita, for all you do. And then also my question, economic development question, Chair, is that can we get an update on that duplex program that we had implemented a while ago? Where we are with that? Did we end up finding anybody to purchase the duplexes? Do we have anybody that's in the pipeline to make the purchase and move in? Because that area of Milne that we, you know, we did the press release, made a big shebang, did the fireworks on, it still looked the same.
If you can hold up just 1 second, I want to make sure that we're through with this great presentation that we heard from Charles and Sharita. So are there any other questions related to this presentation? Seeing none, thank you both very much. And I want to echo Sharita, what Demetrius Coonrod has said, and you, Charles, as always, for the great work y'all doing in our city to bring great companies like the one that's getting ready to come in to, you know, really enhance the quality of our economic experience in this city. So thank you both very much for a great presentation and bringing a great project before this council.
Thank you, council members. It's been a pleasure serving the community and working closely with this council. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, seeing none, let me see, who can we bring up? I guess Ms. Williams, Donna Williams, did you hear Councilwoman Coonrod's question? I would imagine you would be the one to kind of get us cranked up here. Do you see her, Lydia?
Yes, sir, she's on her way.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Williams. You heard Councilwoman Coonrod's question, right?
I did. Thank you. I will share with the council what has been shared with Councilman Byrd because that is in his district. The only thing that has changed is that it's September the 15th and not September the 14th. So the plan is moving forward as it always has been, which is to number one, first and foremost, get the titles cleared on the properties. You guys may recall that these properties were acquired by the city and the county because the previous owner did not pay his property taxes. And when that happens, there is what we refer to as a cloud on the title, meaning that anyone who would be interested in seeking financing on the property, unless they were paying all expenses themselves, and would take the risk of previous heirs having access to the ownership of the property, the title has to be cleared. So we have the attorney, not our attorney, but an outside attorney is continuing to do what is referred to as the quiet title process. And that's just a legal process that unfortunately takes time. So as to whether or not we have people interested, we have lots and lots and lots of people interested. This property, as is the case with most city properties, will go through a public RFP process so that the eventual owner and the investment that they are going to make in the properties would be identified, and then the selection of the purchaser will be made. The individual or organization that would win that RFP would be the one who would be the subsequent owners. So the good news, Councilwoman Coonrod, is we have lots and lots and lots of interest.
Of course, that
but only if the liens are cleared.
Exactly, yeah, because that was your last update a year and a half ago. Just wanted to see if it changed, because we're great at rolling out different initiatives, but we knew as a city before we rolled it out and did the horse and pony show that we didn't have the title to this property. And that's my thing, is that we got all these constituents hyped about this duplex program and how can we implement it in different areas. It's a great idea. NACA was the organization that I knew first implemented it through their different programs throughout the Atlanta area. And I mean, if we're not successful at it, okay, that's great. and we can work through the loops and holes about it. But I really was hoping that it could be done and completed up under Mayor Andy Burke. If that's not possible, I guess we have to accept that, because it's been quite a long, it's been a while since we made that announcement, Ms. Donna. Like, I mean.
No, you're absolutely right. And the reason that the timeline is as it is because we had to take the required legal steps, because you may recall that those duplexes were downzoned, so they were R1. In order for us to get them back to R2, we had to work with the neighborhood association, which we were happy to do, to make sure that they were agreeable to the upzoning from an R1 to an R2. That took some time. The neighborhood wanted us to let everybody know about this possibility. They are aware of the fact that it takes a while to clear the title. It's taken a good while on these. Some go faster, some last forever, unfortunately. So we share your frustration. The good news, as I said before, is that we have a lot of people who are interested in both the owner-occupied portion of it, as well as the ability to be a tenant living next door to the owner. And you are absolutely right. We share your frustration. It's just that the legal processes that we have to go through.
Thank you for that. I just want to make sure my guy get the credit, because we don't know what 2021 gonna bring for any of us. But if I'm still here, Bird, I'm gonna make sure they know that you the one got that started.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of Councilman Byrd, you have your hand up, sir. Please unmute yourself.
There we go. And that's one thing, just to piggyback off of Councilman Coonrod and Donna. Those are the things that I hear from people who don't kind of live in the District 2. People outside, they blow up Councilwoman Coonrod's phone, they blow up my phone, thinking and saying things of this was a dog and pony show, we wasn't going to do anything. And they put a lot of pressure on us too, like we did something fraudulent or wrong. And I have been into real estate now. That quiet title takes forever to get done. And that's ridiculous that it takes so long. And some constituents don't understand the process of how it goes. And then to also talk about the changing it from R1 back to R2 and the things we've done through the LDO to create the R2 situation now, and talking to the constituents in the community of what we're doing to put these homes back online. It has been very frustrating and very crazy, but I do know that we have been working tirelessly to get that done. But it is a lot of pressure because constituents don't understand the process a lot of times, and they think we're saying something just to put it out there. And I try to explain to them, we let them know the possibilities that we can reach with these duplexes and with this situation. But we just definitely have to have some patience, and sometimes patience is not a virtue. So I definitely appreciate it. And to say, several investors and people have called me and said, hey, we're ready to go. I know 4 of them offhand that's saying we're going to do the project. We're ready to do the project. Just let us know when. So can't wait to get those on the roll. And thank you, Ms. Donna, and thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Councilman Byrd. Are there any other questions for ECD at this time? Well, we have Councilman Ledford.
Chairman, I just had a thought, though. It's something that we've discussed at Planning Commission, and that is, oh, good, Donna's still on here. We've discussed, and we see cases a lot when these R2s revert back to an R1. A lot of times it's because Donna backed me up on this, it's because the power has been cut for 90 days. Is that correct?
I think it's 100 days.
100 days, my
Yeah.
bad. And so if there was a process or if there was a change in that policy, would that be helpful to help expedite the program and make it more reality for
Yeah, so currently the options are what none of us on this video conference likes to refer to as spot zoning. So
Yes.
the option is spot zoning, or a change in the regulations that you mentioned, Councilman Ledford.
Okay.
And that goes back many, many years, maybe even 20 years, certainly around that time. So yes, that is what triggers the downzoning. And Councilwoman Burrs and Councilman Gilbert are very familiar with that process. And that was done at the encouragement of many neighborhood associations across the city. But that is what happens. And so, and Councilman Ledford, you see folks come to Planning Commission, they have no idea that they bought a piece of property. It looks like a duplex, it sounds like a duplex, it walks like a duplex, and then they get ready to go pull a permit to make an investment in the property only to find out that it's zoned R1.
Yeah, you are correct. Okay. I'm just trying to find ways to be part of the solution, not the problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Ledford. Are there any other questions for ECD at this time? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Vice Chair.
I got one more, Chair.
Oh, okay, Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. And Ms. Donna, if we could get together, if you could look at your calendar, you know, I got that great project that's happening, that Ether Collier, and I'm glad that he's investing in District 9, in particular in that Oak Grove community. It's been a community that has been underserved with lack of investment. So I'm grateful that he stepped out there and said, hey, I want to start this fire. But I want to just talk to you to see if there's anything that we can do as far as a city to be a part of the project, because I mean, I do want the project to be successful. Most definitely want to make sure that we're, you know, people are not having to move out the community, just making sure whatever resources that we can add value along with his project, that we're collaborating if we can.
Sure, yeah, and I'd be happy to do that. And I can, I was actually at the site a week ago Friday, and I can share with you things that, thank goodness, Mr. Collier, I met him when we were on a board for affordable housing. And so I know where his heart is. Yeah. And from the very beginning of this project, he reached out and said, here's what I'm getting ready to do, along with some other investors, of course. Here's what we're getting ready to do. Here's what I don't want to happen. And so we, however long ago, a year or 2 years ago, had conversations about how we can do exactly what you're talking about, Councilwoman Coonrod. So I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Once again, seeing none, Mr. Vice Chair, that concludes ECD. If there's no other business, we are adjourned till 6 o'clock.
Yes, sir. We'll see everybody back at that time.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you at 6, team.